Good afternoon, everyone. So tomorrow is Tanit Esther. It is a fast day that is not mentioned in Tanakh except for the Megillah. The Megillah, it says, is Divrei HaTzomot, because Esther had asked Mordechai to gather all of the Jews in Shushan and to fast for 3 days, 3-day fast, as a sign of repentance, of tshuva, and a way of beseeching heaven that they should be saved from the terrible genocidal decree of Haman. So the 3 days that they fasted included the first day of Pesach, which is a special revelation that they would have a fast day then. But the situation was such that it was doche the mitzvah of Yom Tov. And so they fasted as well. We make reference to it in the Haggadah Shel Pesach, in the piyutim that we say at the end of the Haggadah, when we say that Esther fasted on the holiday of Pesach itself. Now, in Tanakh, we read that Tzom Asiri, Asar B'Teves, and we read about Tzom Shvi, which is Tzom Gedalia, and we read about the Tzom Revi, which is Shivas B'Tammuz, and Tzom Chamishi, which is Tisha B'Av. Those are recorded for us in the Tanakh. In the time of the Second Temple, these 4 fast days were not observed. The Navi Chagai records for us that when the exiles returned from Bovel and they began building the Beis HaMikdash in Yerushalayim and establishing the Second Commonwealth at the time of Ezra, so then the question was brought before him, Eotzum, shall I fast on these fast days? Because the fast days were because of the Churban, and so to speak, the Churban is being annulled. The Beis HaMikdash is being rebuilt. And the Navi, through prophecy, tells them that they are not to fast anymore. That these 4 fast days will not be observed during the time of the Second Temple because of the fact that they were indicative of the Churban, and the Churban, so to speak, had ended. After the Churban Ba'Yesheni, when the Second Temple was destroyed in 70, so then all of the fast days were reinstated. And the fast days now came to commemorate not only the Churban Bayis Rishon, but the Churban Ba'Yesheni as well. And there was a question of making an extra fast day because instead of Shivasa B'Tammuz, it should have been the 9th day of Tammuz. The first temple was breached then, and the Second Temple on the 17th. But Chazal felt that there were enough fast days to go around. It was not necessary to institute another one, and it was instituted therefore on the 17th of Tammuz, which is the time of the Bayis Sheni, and which is the fast day that we observe today, Shivasar Tammuz. So Tinius Esther, since it is not referred to, we don't know what happened to it. Did they have it in Bayis Sheni or not? In other words, did the miracle of Purim, we should say the miracle of Purim erased it. But it seems that that was not the case, because they darshan from the Pasuk, Divrei Atzomos, because the Megillah makes special mention of the fast days, and it says, V'yamei Purim o'ele lo yavru mitoch haYehudim. These days that commemorate Purim will never pass from the Jewish people. The Gemara says, even Losi Lovo, famous Gemara that's difficult to understand. The Gemara says that Kol HaMoadim is battling, all of the holidays will no longer have to exist. But Yemei Purim O'elu Lo Yavru, but Purim will always remain. What the Gemara means by that is subject to many different commentaries and interpretations. But in any event, it's clear that Purim is always Purim. And no matter what the situation is, Purim will be observed. Because of the fact that it said, V'yamei Purim O'ele Lo Yavru, and it said Yemei, meaning all of the days of the Purim. So as we know, Purim has many days. It can begin from the 11th of Adar to the 15th of Adar. This year here in Yerushalayim, we have 3 days of Purim. So with Tinius Esther, we have 4 days of Purim, because Tinius Esther is connected to Purim. So there's a strong opinion that even in the Bayis Sheni, they observe Tinius Esther, even though it appears in Halacha to be the least of the fast days of the year. In Halacha, we are more makil in Tinius Esther for people who don't feel well, for the elderly, for women, etc. The kulas, the leniencies associated with fast days, almost all of them apply to Tinius Esther. Yet, according to many, Tinius Esther was observed in the time of the Second Temple as well, because of the idea of the Yemei Purim, O'ele Lo Yavru. Now the question is, why does Tinius Esther on Yud Gimel Adar, if the original Tinius Esther was in Nisan? So on that, the commentators say that in Nisan, we don't say Tachnun. Nisan is the month of Geula, of redemption, of joy, of contentment, of happiness. And Nisan is the month of Geula. So therefore, it's out of place to have sad commemorations. It's one of the contentious points that still exist there in the state regarding Yom HaShoah. Why the Knesset decided to make it in Nisan. And by so doing, they automatically made it that a certain portion of the population would never observe it. But they wanted to make their point. I mean, the Knesset that did it was of a far different outlook politically and religiously than how the country has turned out over the last 70 years. So they wanted to make the point, they made it the anniversary of, the seeming anniversary of the Warsaw Ghetto, the uprising of the Warsaw Ghetto. But it's in the month of Nisan. In the month of Nisan, we don't make such commemorations. And therefore, since there was no specific date in Tanakh given for Tainus Esther, it's all drushes that we make, tradition. But in the Megillah itself, it doesn't say when it was, which 3 days they fasted. So therefore, since this is only a zecher, a remembrance to the fast that Esther instituted on the Jewish people at the time of Oman, so therefore there's wide latitude to choose whatever day you want. And therefore the rabbis instituted it on the day before Purim, so that the connection would be obvious. Because you made it in the middle of the year sometime, the people say, what's Tainus Esther doing here now, right? And since the fact that I mentioned to you that it is the most lenient of the fast days, so they were afraid that people would discard it completely. But when you attached it to Purim, when you connected it to the day of Purim itself, so the 13th is Tainus Esther, and the 14th is Purim, so then it would have a kiyum, then it would have a basis to survive and be known and be observed. So therefore, they put it on the day before Purim. So then we have other shilas that arise. If you're fasting, you're supposed to go to the Megillah in a good mood. You're supposed to go to the Megillah, Simcha B'Tov Levav. If you're fasting, you're hungry, you want to get it over with. So therefore, in many kehilas, the custom was, and I don't suggest it here, God forbid, that the synagogue provided refreshments after Maariv before the reading of the Megillah, so that the people would not feel famished and that they would be able to enjoy the reading of the Megillah. It also depends where. I mean, by us, it's still relatively a short day. In Mincha tomorrow is 5:10, Megillah is 6 o'clock. By 7:15, we're all done. So it's lo nora. But if you're in Buenos Aires or if you're in Johannesburg, so it's a much longer day. And there the issue is more sharply put into focus. So from there arose a custom that the Shulchan Aruch disagrees with it, and if you ask the rabbi, he'll disagree with it also. But there was a custom that people didn't fast the whole day, that it was only till Chatzos or sometime in the afternoon, in order that Tainus Esther shouldn't, so to speak, eclipse Purim and make Purim a hardship. But by Bakol Tfutzos Yisrael, most of the Jewish people, the Tainus is a full Tainus till we're done with it, and that the joy of Purim is present even if we have not had food and drink for 14 hours or whatever it is. Especially people that want to get up early in the morning. I think at 4:40 is the time to eat for what? I think 4:40 is the time. But it's a contest between sleeping and eating. That's the struggle that we have. And whatever people do, they should only be well. Some say now that because of the situation that we have with Corona, etc., people should not be machmir on themselves if they feel weak. Whether or not that has anything to do with Corona, I doubt it. But the issues are clear. So tomorrow is Tainus Esther. So we should view Tainus Esther as the introduction to Purim. And therefore we have 4 days Purim in a row this year, which is a special blessing here in Yerushalayim, and that everyone should be blessed with a happy and healthy and strong Purim. Thank you. Rabbi Chananya ben Akash Omer, Otsa Kodesh Baruch Hu L'Zakos Yisrael, V'fichach hier v'lahem Torah mitzvot shenemar, Adonai chafetz man tzidko yagdil, Torah yagdil. Amen.